Hi there, welcome to Outdoor Gear Chat. We're here for episode 73 in our Everest 50th anniversary specials. With this is number 5, isn't it? Actually, of the series. Amazing. I'm Wayne, and I'm joined as always by Kathy. Hello. All right, how are you doing?
Hi, Wayne. Yes, I am Kathy, and I am the co-owner and director of the Joe Brown shops in Snowdonia and the Climber shop in Ambleside. And we have a direct link with Doug Scott, who was, along with Dougal Haston, the first Briton to stand on top of Everest. So we're delighted to be able to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that huge expedition in 1975. And we've been very fortunate to talk to some great people, a really great selection of people and experts over the past 4 episodes. But this episode is all about the lady's voice. I am absolutely thrilled to introduce Di Gilbert. Hello, Di.
Hi, Kathy. Hi, Wayne.
Hi.
So I just thought I'd do a quick introduction there, because I'm now going to do like the big introduction, because it
Oh
is
my
pretty
goodness.
big.
Okay.
So
Right.
everybody
Wow.
brace yourselves.
We'll be here a while. Yeah, wow.
No.
So Di holds the highest UK outdoor instructional qualification and has been working in the mountains for over 30 years, and over 19 years have been spent leading expeditions over 8,000 meters. She's also got 4 Antarctic seasons under her belt as head guide and later field operations manager. Di has gained a phenomenal amount of knowledge about climbing and working in extreme, remote and challenging environments, and thrives on the challenge of leading big commercial expeditions. We've also represented Great Britain in the International Ski Mountaineering Federation's World Championships, and is also the director of Skimo Scotland. And you work with the Scottish Avalanche Information Service, so an all-round expert in the snowy mountains. So I think I need a breath now, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm an
Do you want-
expert, Kathy.
I think you are.
Do you want me to take over on this on the next bit? Incredible.
Yeah, well, actually, there's a little caveat on this one, because Di was the first British woman to lead an expedition to the top of Mount Everest from the northern side. I think it's Sue Harper was the first British woman to lead an expedition to the summit from the southern side. So that makes her part of a very small group of women who have successfully led more than one expedition to the summit of the world's highest mountain. You've also climbed all of the 7 summits, which you completed in 2010 as well. So busy, Di.
I don't know anything else, to be honest, Kathy. And I would say that actually it took me longer to do my Monroes than it did the 7 summits.
No way, really.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and like that sparked up. So I remember doing a lecture in Aberdeen one night, and somebody said to me, when you open up the floor to questions at the end, and it was all about Everest. They were like in 7 summits, and they said, "Well, what's next?" And I said, like, "Well, I suppose I better finish the
Monroes.
Monroes." And some lady next, my mum said, "Oh, I've done them," and so that was it. So I thought, right, here we go. Yeah, and so I was thinking, Kathy, now I might be wrong in this. I actually don't think there has actually been another female British who's actually led anything from the north. Because
Okay,
I think everything I'm aware of has been, and it's pretty much myself, Sue, and Adele Pennington,
yeah.
and they were from the south. So
Yeah.
like they've probably got sensible lives. Whereas, yeah.
Oh, well, actually, I mean, today or this, well, no, it's today, isn't it? Is your 20th anniversary from your first summit, because you've done it twice.
Wow.
So massive congratulations on that. Really fantastic. And I think also I'd just like to take this opportunity to pay homage to Junko Tabei as the first woman to summit Everest back in 1975. 1993, Rebecca Stevens became the first British woman, shortly followed the following season in the autumn by Jeanette Harrison. And then, of course, in 1995, there was the incredible unsupported oxygen-free ascent by Alison Hargreaves, which was phenomenal. And then lastly, and not wishing to diminish anybody's ascent, Lakpa Sherpa, who has summited Everest 10 times. And if anybody has the opportunity to see her film Mountain Queen, that is really quite a fantastic
special
watch. Yeah, an absolutely amazing watch. But let's talk kit. Let's get back to outdoor gear chat. and ask how many shoes do you take on an Everest trip?
Are you referring to like 3-inch, 5-inch stiletto heels, or?
Yeah.
And then footwear, right? Yeah, what a great place to start. And like Kathy, and we were just chatting at the start, and like I'm here like from a commercial point of view, but I think since I started the whole 8,000 meter peak like in 2004, things have changed massively. And then when Jake and I done Everest in 2005, like we took 10 weeks, so we had quite a lot of kit for that trip. And of course this year has been fascinating with these 4 gents from London who have smashed it in 7 days. So I'm sure my answers from my experience will be very different to a group of guys on 7 days opposed to like 10 weeks. So but kit, so footwear, I think the first thing is do your research in terms of what sort of mountain you are going for. Because if a mountain's got quite a reputation for being maybe like a bit wetter or a bit sort of like below the cloud level, it's going to be a little bit different to a drier mountain. So, but in terms of feetwear, I would say if I start off at the extremes, a pair of flip-flops. So, and I'm not speaking about posh like leather like Birkenstocks when I say that, because they're useless. But a pair of flip-flops that I can like get wet and let my feet air, get a bit of sun. They're like the one end for like the hot valley temperatures. And then I suppose the other extreme would be the big 8,000 meter boots. And they'll literally be on my summit push. But then in between, I've got all the other shoes I'll wear on a daily basis. And so they might be like my pair of approach shoes that'll be like getting into base camp. And actually, even on some rotations lower down, I'll use my approach shoes if I'm on moraine. So I'll use them quite a lot. I'll then have my faithful Scottish winter boots that I'll use all the time when actually above the snow line. And then I'll probably also have a pair of trainers that I can kick on and off around base camp, just where I want to let my feet breathe a little bit more. And then this wild card would be a pair of little wellies. Or like a pair of completely waterproof boots that I can like splosh in puddles and get them on really fast, and that just properly keeps everything dry. So yeah, so I've got one kit bag for footwear.
So you're not a fan of the Croc?
Well, like if Crocs done a little welly, I would be in there. Yeah.
They do.
Like,
I think they do. In fair, yeah. And there's, yeah. I think there is
yeah,
there
but
is a
no
version.
holes. Yeah, no
Yeah.
holes.
Oh no, it has got the holes in weirdly. I
so,
think
right,
but
I
yeah.
Google that.
And I have seen a heeled Croc somewhere as well. But anyway,
Yeah, wedges. Yeah. But like a pair of wellies, just like, yeah, absolutely. I used to wear like my Antarctic like fleecy line boots, but they just get a bit too warm. So I just wear like wellies and big socks now.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good insight. That's sort of insight that I don't think we've heard that sort of angle before on just on the footwear variety. Despite
Actually, just on that subject, and this just came up in the shop the other day, actually, and from a member of staff who was asking, because they get asked a lot. We have quite a few customers come into the shop who are off maybe on their first trip, who haven't been to altitude before, and obviously buying boots is a major investment.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's not a piece of kit you want to get wrong either. You can cope with a jacket that's a bit big, a pack that doesn't quite fit right, but when it comes to footwear, it has to be spot on. So do have you found with your groups and with your personal experience, people's feet swell a lot at altitude, or how much kind of allowance do you personally allow for that, or do you advise your clients?
No, that's interesting you said that, Kathy, because up until a few years ago, I was a size 39 in whatever Scarpa boot I was in, no question. But I think they've got older. I think your feet change, and actually I did bump up a size on the 8000ers just recently, and that's, I think, like, your feet do swell up, and actually I want to have room to wiggle my toes. But I don't want to lose the dexterity, especially when you're on like the more technical 8000ers and technical peaks. You need to still have that dexterity. But in saying that, compared to, like, the equipment I had back 20 years ago to the equipment I've got now, everything's so much more fine-tuned anyway. So it's a different, everything's lighter, everything performs way better. So that's been really great. But I think especially feet, you want to be able to wiggle your toes because things do swell up, and you want to get a big thick pair of toasty warm socks on as well. So I would say it's a big investment, and I think, like, with these massive investments, go to a shop and try on a normal size and a size up. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to spend a whack of money to then find out, actually, that, once you've gone up above a certain height, your feet have gone boof and you can't wear your boots. It's just like, So
I guess taking the socks that you're going to be wearing as well, or trying the boot on with the socks that you might wear as well, was a great tip I'd had.
Yeah, you've got to have your summit day socks. Like, so my treat every single expedition is I have to go and buy a brand new pair of summit day socks. And it has to be the poshest, fluffiest, nicest pair of socks, but that is my one treat. So so I've got to have that summit day socks with me.
Is that because they're honking when they come back?
Like, socks just flatten, don't they? You know what I mean? Like, I just want like a nice pair of toasty warm socks. That's like, that's my treat. So so with your new socks and your boots, try them on.
So with that, moving seamlessly into socks, actually, that brings us on to the sort of the next question, really. What are your top tips for keeping your feet warm up high?
Like good footwear. So of all the things to scrimp on, you have to invest in a pair of warm boots. And, like, long gone are the days of plastic boots with over outers, etc. What you can buy nowadays, they're so warm, it's brilliant. And so I suppose the one thing is when you get into camp, I would say, like, I'm trying to air my feet, because your feet will be pretty sweaty. They'll probably start off a little bit cool, but they will definitely sweat during the day. So I would be really, once you're in a tent with any sort of sun, it becomes an oven. So things actually dry super fast. So I would be pretty much out my boots, my liners are there getting dried, and my feet are getting aired. And whether or not I'm changing socks. And then I suppose the big thing is when you go to bed at like 5 o'clock in the evening, because that's what you do, get your liners inside your bag. So everything important you're either wearing or is in your bag. So actually in the morning you don't have to warm them up. So but you can't afford, like, I think, like, with technology and equipment nowadays, you really shouldn't be getting frostbite. Something you have been lax in your personal administration if that's the case. So actually, like, you got to do your homework.
And just on the personal admin bit there, and you've mentioned a few times the importance to you of airing your feet. What, why is that, just for listeners who might not have the sort of experience that you two particularly have got? Why is airing your feet important?
I think you've got to like, if you wear, that's a good question, Wayne. If you're like having a long, like, 5-day hike in the Scottish Highlands or across the lakes or the peak or whatever, your feet, they get sweaty, they swell up, and actually you just want to sort of, like, air them to toughen them up again. Like I'm never going to be cleaning them because that's not really an option, but just getting the air on them for as much as possible is really important. And even just things like turning your socks inside out, just so your socks get a proper like de-crisping before they go back on. But yeah, so feet are pretty important and of course if you keep them dry, they're not going to get blistered and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, just a general looking after your feet's pretty important.
Yeah, I guess there's a bit of something along the lines of killing stuff, isn't there, when you're airing them? It's not that
Yeah.
horrible, sweaty, warm environment isn't great for our feet, is it?
Yeah,
I
no,
think
exactly.
did we talk to Dr. Will at World Extreme? Did he
Yes.
mention something
Yeah.
about the importance of looking after your feet on expedition,
Yeah.
whatever form that might take for you?
Yeah, and if you look at any climber, whether it be a rock climber or a mountaineer, like we've all got scabby toes. Like all our feet are like they're not our best selling points because they've been like boot banged for so many years and like nails have been cut down so much. But but it just the harsh reality is this is what the business entails.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, your feet are amazing when you think what they do and what they can put up with, and the amount of support you get from something like a Phantom 8000, Phantom 6000 boot to allow you to operate in an extraordinarily steep terrain in those kind of temperatures is pretty incredible, really. So I kind of I'm okay with not having beach ready feet.
Yeah.
But mine aren't affected by being at high altitude. That's like running and running too far.
Yeah. So boots, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course your boots. It's not just you and your boots on the rock. You've often got a pair of crampons on the bottom. Which completely messes with your height, your balance, and everything else. And maybe you're on super slippery, ridiculously hard ice. Maybe you're on like chossy rock. So you're going over a lot of different environments. On your, if we talk about Everest in particular, because I'm sure all of the mountains you've done demand different, and actually sometimes even the route on the same mountain demands a different type of equipment. But what's your kind of boot crampon combination of choice, and what how do you kind of change or what factors influence that your choice?
I want stuff that works.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big. It has to work. And the great thing about like the big hills is actually it's not. I would like to say it's not people's first gig in the big mountains. To get to the stage of doing super high peaks, you've got to have had some sort of mountain apprenticeship. And actually, I would be like, I would say you've got to buy smart right at the beginning. And actually, the best training ground we have got in the UK is Scottish winter. And actually, if I think about what my Everest kit is, with the exception of my 8,000 metre boots, my massive sleeping bag, and my down suit, everything else I use in Scotland.
Yeah.
So if you spent the apprenticeship on home turf, you know what works. And like you don't need a pair of fancy technical mono points because actually, like when you're like wading through like soft navy, they're useless. So for all these big hills, you want a solid general mountaineering pair of crampons that you're really happy with. And it's and you've got to be a little bit careful with them because like with my general mountaineering crampons, like I have like grades. And so like at the early season Scottish winter, when there's very little snow and it's much more mixed and rocky, everything gets blunt. Yeah. So of course I've got my blunt crampons, but then actually when I'm like wanting like a bit more precision or it's a bit more nevy or a bit icier, I want sharp crampons. So I remember once making the mistake of taking a really blunt pair of crampons. I think it might have been to Manaslu actually, and like getting up to top camp, it was like brick hard, like really old blue ice, and it was just absolutely harrowing. And so from then on, I'm like, no, I actually need really good crampons that actually I might trash on the rock section, but they're going to keep me good on the firm icy section. So yeah, so you need stuff that you're happy with in all sort of terrain. Yeah. And of course, you can't go super, super light. 'Cause if you've got a pair of super lightweight crampons, they're going to be disintegrated
Yeah.
after a few rotations. So yeah, so a good pair of solid mountaineering crampons. Of all the things to scrimp on, lightness and durability, it ain't going to be my crampons.
No, they need to be the workhorses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So you've got obviously a lot of kit to take up with you on your ascent. And do you use, or what sort of rucksack do you use on your walk in? And then on the mountain, is it a different one? And do you pack them differently, or do you just have your set way that you pack? Do you pull your pack together?
So when I sort of do any sort of expedition, I sort of like break it into like various phases, and so every phase will have a different set of equipment. So like and especially if I'm meeting people who are embarking on this sort of like expedition life. So I would say like when you fly into a city, you're a tourist, and so actually like you just need what you would need to be a tourist in a city. And then of course, and then when you're on the trekking phase, you're then literally a trekker or a walker. So I would be thinking, well, I would have my little 18, 20 litre, like little summer rucksack that I use all the time here. And I literally would pack just for that day's trek. There's nothing special in it. And then it's only then when I start moving up and down the mountain. So I would then go into what I would say to people is my rotational phase. And that's when I'd be going up and down, and that's when I'd be carrying stuff up and down the mountain. But so I'd be going from like an 18, 20 litre rucksack to my biggest rucksack I ever have is a 45 plus rucksack. And actually, if it can't fit into that rucksack or strapped on the outside, I'm carrying too much kit. And so, especially if I look at my sleeping bag that I took 20 years ago to my sleeping bag I've got now, the one now compresses way smaller. It's actually way warmer and it's half the weight. So actually, like where we used to always go for big bulky foam mattresses, everything's now air and it's half the weight and it's half the bulk, etc. So to me, 45 litres plus that little bit at the top is all I would take. And of course, I would just feel that, and especially like when I'm doing rotations, I try. You don't want to have too much kit on the hill because if it then goes, you've lost it. So it's a bit of a strategy about how and when you start taking stuff up the hill. And so I'd be on that bigger pack then for the mountain phase, and then once again, I'd then be back on my little trekking one coming off the hill. So yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, sorry, Wayne, did you have a
No,
question?
yeah. Well, yeah, loads of them actually. Yeah, it was yeah, no, always. Honestly, some of them, but yeah, we won't fit in today. But yeah, would you have used like a much larger pack back when you started out? Then would you use like I don't
Oh
know,
my goodness.
like 60 litre plus or something like yeah?
And I had when I done Everest the first time, I had the biggest Mac pack that was the heaviest thing in the, because actually Mac pack were designed to last for life, weren't they?
Yeah,
And it was this like ridiculous thing that probably weighed 8 kilos empty. And I sort of like, and I was trawling through my photos day doing my Instagram post, and I'm like, God, that rucksack, and I think, like I had it for years because it would never destruct. But actually, it's like, well, so I don't want to carry that now because I don't need to carry that now. So yeah, but I don't think it might have been a 50 litre rucksack, but not
massively different.
Because all people do is people just fill it.
Yeah.
And just fill it with stuff they don't need. Whereas
Absolutely.
actually, yeah, and I always say to people, everything has to fight for a place in my rucksack. And actually I can live without that for a few days, and especially when you've got people starting off this expedition life, I will sit down and I'll say, I'm taking that on this rotation, and then the next time I'm taking that, and next time I'm taking that. But certainly on the 8,000ers, I'm just saying I'm doing a rotation, and then people will say, oh, what are you taking up? So yeah, depends what people have done.
Yeah, no, that's the next question for me. Is it like you were saying, you've got your 18, 20 litre pack when you were sort of you're doing your touristy trek bit, and then you come the mountain, you've got your bigger one. Will that make its way all up the camps, for want of a better phrase, with you, or do you just drop that somewhere at a base camp or somewhere like that?
No, the big rucksack will stay with me. So yeah, so it'll stay with
Yeah.
me up and down the mountain. Yeah. So
Yeah, cool.
once so I'll use my little rucksack as much as I can. So if I'm taking, like, for example, one of the first things I'll take up the hill is food. Because
Yeah.
actually
Oh, good.
food, yeah, because
Yeah,
actually
that
it
was my
tends,
next question. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
and
Snacks,
and
snacks. Yeah.
I can't, like, I have tried so hard to eat D-high food and I can't eat it. So actually my food tends to be pretty bulky and it's heavy. And so actually no, so it's not bulky, it's just really heavy. And so actually if I can get away with doing my first rotation with a little rucksack, I will. And it's only when actually I go, oh, I actually need a bigger rucksack, I'll then go to my bigger one. But no, everything is very it's calculated. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not taking a half empty filled rucksack. It will be full. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so by heavy, do you mean you're taking up like a full square sausage? Is that what you mean?
Oh, I'll take me,
Sorry.
me beef jerkies and me
Yeah.
blocks of cheese, me tins of tuna. Like I need stuff that I can eat,
Oh, brilliant.
and
Yeah.
I can't eat D-high food. And so yeah, so I
Yeah.
always laugh at the guys in the office that do all the logistics. And they're just like, no, I'll be eating like I'll go and see my chef and say, can I get some chapatis or can I get some egg or because I just,
Brilliant.
I can't eat any freeze dry. I just can't.
Well, I think yeah, it's all right every now and then, I think, isn't it? But multi-day stuff, I think it does wear a bit thin, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is yeah,
Just give me 4 bags of jelly babies any day of the week.
yeah.
And
Oh,
the harsh
I'm a,
reality is you don't eat, so
yeah,
you can't eat. And so actually
yeah,
I'd rather have like 500 calories of like gunk that I
yeah.
know
Stuff you
actually
like. Yeah,
yeah. So just give me
yeah,
like a smoked sausage and a whack of
yeah.
baby bells.
Oh, well, I was just going to say exactly the same. I'm a big fan of Baby Bell and
Yeah.
pepperami for that. So those are my staples. But I
Yeah.
know, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's how do you access that all that grub? Have you got? I know Kathy's a big snack fan. Have you got like pockets
Oh.
on the front of your packs?
I'm going to say, Wayne, my claim to fame is I'm the world's worst eater, which is like, bearing in mind I'm not really a stealth, like, slim person, but I'll go for like 24 hours without eating and then go, oh, I need to eat. So on
Right.
mountains, I don't need to graze. I'll stock up in the morning and then I'll then go without, and then I'll stock up when I need to stock up. So yeah, so I
Right.
might have like a little bag of like sucky sweets are really important because obviously with the dry air, so I've always got like bags of sucky sweets, and that's not just for me, but then you can give them to Sherpas and you can give them to like
Yeah.
your team members, etc. But in
Yeah.
terms of like, I don't, yeah, if I have to have lunch, I'll just stop and have lunch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess that's a top motivational thing, isn't it? Like giving sweeties around the group is always great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've really hijacked the conversation here.
No,
Sorry,
it's fine.
Kathy, with all my
It's food, it's food.
questions.
No,
Yeah.
it's all fascinating. And
Mm.
Yeah.
do you carry more than your clients if you're leading an expedition, or do you have a
No,
much
not
bigger rucksack? No.
No, not really, because once again, by the time that people have got to a stage here, like, what's the point of me taking a spare pair of gloves? Because actually, it probably won't fit them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So as long as people have, I will definitely make sure, because gloves blow away. And so you need to have more than one pair of glove on the hill. So for things like that I would say are utterly crucial, I'll do a physical, how many pairs of gloves have you got, etc. But no, I like people need to be self-reliant on the hill as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, I know that a lot of like commercial expeditions will have Sherpas that will take a lot of like team members kit up and down the hill, but I don't like being separated from my kit. And so the only thing that I would probably be carrying that they're not is I've probably got a better first aid kit.
Yeah.
That's probably there. And I've probably got a group shelter. So
Yeah.
apart from that, and I've got the radio, but they've all got radio, they've got a sat phone, but then they've probably actually got better communication stuff that I've got. Do you know what I mean? So no, but I think in terms of your personal kit, people need to be able to actually be a little bit independent and responsible. And I suppose with Everest as well, so if you haven't got their personal admin organised, going from say 6 to 6.5 because they're a flaffer, well, they're not going to make it higher up. They're just going to become a liability. So getting people to be self-reliant lower down the mountain is super important for what then they're about to embark on higher up the mountain. like a self-vetting process.
That's a really interesting point, and we've skirted around that a little bit. I think
Ooh.
on a couple of the previous chats
Ah.
is the sort of the commercialization and almost that people don't have the experience that they might once have had for a summit. And so that's a really interesting point that you make there. Is that that progression of sort of the education process as well, I guess, isn't it, within it?
And it's really interesting as Wayne said. I don't think so. I've been guiding not the 8,000ers but the little peaks for over 30 years now, and I don't think I've ever told any team member they can't carry on. I've never, because actually I don't think it's my place to say that, because I don't know what's going on in their head. But what I would like to do is I give people the opportunity to actually, they will know, I've bitten off more than I can chew here, and it's then up to them to say, actually, I'm now turning back. But I don't think I've actually ever said to somebody, you need to go down now. It's always been, people have said to me, I'm turning around, and I've just gone, yeah, we'll chat later. Yeah, so I think it's and because people are paying a lot of it's it is a lot of money, but it's a lot of time. It's a lot of away from wives and husbands, and commitment, exactly, Wayne. And actually, if you need to just encourage them as much as possible. But at the end of the day, they need to be able to put one foot in front of the other in a really serious environment. And so using all this stuff lower down the mountain, if it is like a self-vetting process. But you'd like to think by the time they've gone to Everest, they've hopefully done all that in previous peaks, etc., and now they're properly in the zone.
Yeah, and that kind of all ties in with the fact it's not just a physical climb. There's a huge amount up here, isn't there? For any endurance activity.
It's interesting you say that, Kathy, because when I went to Everest, it's going to be your first time. It has to be somebody's first time always, isn't there? And I always remember when I was about to launch up on the my summit rotation, and I remember Dave, who's the owner of Adventure Peaks, he always said to me, if you get to top camp, die, you'll summit. And that was all I needed. And it was true, because once you've got to, because on the north, the top camp's 8.3. Once you have made it to 8.3, even though it's a really long slog up onto the actual summit, you're so hungry for that summit, you are going to get up and hopefully back down. But I just thought that was interesting. That's what he said, and it's always stuck with me, that if you get to there, you've broken the back of it. And actually these things you remember.
Mantras for life.
Yeah.
Would you usually use I know we've talked about Everest as not a technical mountain. Would you normally use a walking axe? Would you normally use a shorter technical axe when you're on an ascent?
Oh, so I don't think I own a walking axe, Kathy.
Sorry, oh gosh.
Because when you say a walking axe, people think you mean a walking stick. So I absolutely. So general mountaineering ice axe, I definitely always carry, and I always carry, even though there are fixed ropes. You always have to assume a rope's going to cut. Right. So if I've got an ice axe, at least I think I've got a fighting chance of getting up and down a snow slope, in one piece if the things go wrong. But I don't have my super duper my workhorse, for example, that I'd use in Scottish general mountaineering terrain. I have got the lightest ice axe possible, and it's pink. And literally and it will pretty much stay on my rucksack, because literally when you're going up the rope, I'll have my Jumar on the fixed line, and I've probably actually got a trekking pole, but I've got the ice axe on my rucksack. So that pretty much will come with me whenever I move on that sort of terrain. And it is literally from if the rope goes. Yeah. Or if I need to get past people, I can do it in a safe manner. Yeah. So, yeah. But I don't plan cutting steps or anything like that. It's just literally.
No, those days happily have long gone.
Yes. Excuse me.
So what about a climbing harness as well? Because you obviously must spend a lot of time in a climbing harness. How do you choose what harness you're going to take with you?
once again, the lightest on the market.
Right.
Yeah, only because you've got so much padding on. So
Mm.
especially on summit days, like I'm wearing a down suit, so it's not like I'm not going to be taking off big massive falls, and I'm not going to be like I'm not going to be weighting that harness as I would if I'm in a traditional Scottish winter climbing or rock climbing scene. So basically, the lightest, and the lightest harness in the market, with a few gear loops. That's all I want. Yeah. So no, and then it'll be a little bit comfortable because like when you're doing your rotations, you will actually have like quite a lot of It'll be quite extreme weather, but I would say it's mainly like Scottish winter weather, so it's not horrendous, but I'm not wearing lots of clothes. But I generally will have on like padding as in clothing. So yeah. But
And I
yeah,
guess
once again, and once again that goes back down to the whole weight thing. So if I've got the lightest harness, it's like the size of an eggshell. Whereas if I look at my harness is hanging up in the garage, it's like a proper big unit. But on these big hills, I'm just like, yeah, small is beautiful.
And yeah, you keep mentioning Scottish winter, and again back to a couple of the recent chats that we've had. It's not as wet. Is that the right term? It's more snow/wind rather than rain, for example. Would that be
Yeah.
right that you're experiencing?
Yeah, I think that would probably be true up until a certain point, but I think we can't ignore the fact the world's changing.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
actually, yeah, so I think, like, for example, when I'm on K2 base camp, I would say it was raining. And
Right.
so, and that would have been like, that's like what, 9 years ago, and it was raining at 5,500 meters. So I think previously, you would be correct in saying that, but I think things are definitely changing. Yeah. So and it's
Okay.
stuff like as well, and like I would like my most treasured item of equipment is an umbrella.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because actually I don't want to be wearing like I don't actually think I take full on heavyweight Gore-Tex because it's too warm. You know, for actually, so it's a real mishmash of temperatures and climate, etc. So but it is like I would say I have infinitely been much colder and near hypothermic in Scotland in winter than any part of the world I've been to. Yeah, so because Scotland's like that horrible like 0, -1, -2, +1,
Just
+2.
wind
Whereas
and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, whereas like when you go higher, it's cold and dry. However, things are changing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's a disturbing theme through some of these chats as well, isn't it? Is the climate change piece? Is that every now and then there's sort of a comment that comes in
Yeah.
about that, and yeah, again, the one just earlier on was that whole roads extending and glaciers retreating as as we're going into places. So but lightening the mood a little bit. You don't have one of those hats with an umbrella on. It's not that sort of thing. No.
No,
Okay.
but the mission is always to find the most ridiculous umbrella in the city.
Brilliant.
So whether it be her from Frozen or like Peppa Pig, like it's always
Love
like
it.
so. I think so on the K2, I think Jake and we had the most ridiculous. Like I think Jake had like whatever it was from Frozen, and I had, like Peppa Pig or something. But yeah, and of course you always then give it to the kids at the end of the trip. But yeah, like.
I
The
mean,
most
as long as
ridiculous
it's big enough
umbrella.
to be able to crouch behind, that's
Well,
rule one for
exactly.
me.
Yeah. And of course, people don't say, like, why are you buying an umbrella? And it is for the rain, but it's also from the sun. Because
Yeah.
actually, in the low valleys, when you're getting flambéed, like sunshade, yeah. And then, up higher, if it does rain, yeah, because it's too warm for Gore-Tex. So, yeah.
No, it's the ultimate breathable waterproof, and it can just fit
Yeah.
down the side strap on your rucksack, so your
Yeah.
hands free in the sunshine. It's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So do you have any like key clothing items that work especially well for you as a woman and that you would recommend to your female clients?
Use what you are familiar with. That's the crunch. And I think
Buzzwords.
yeah, and I think I'm going to harp on about Scottish winter once again. It's like the best training ground we've got in the world. But I think, and especially with equipment, so like at the start of every winter season, like you never quite get the layering right, because of course you've bought a new fleece, or you've got another, you've got a different combination, and it always takes a little bit. Like, how many hoods do I need? I don't need 4 hoods, I just need 1 hood. But what hood is that layer on? So at the start of any season, you never quite get it right. It's the same with gloves, wrong glove combination or whatever. And then actually, just like, and we always have like, in the Scottish, like in the guiding world, like we always like say, like, the first few days of Scottish winter, you have to go out with your mates. Because it's like, oh, I've like forgotten this, I've got that, I've got the wrong gloves, I've got the wrong everything. It's a little bit unprofessional, but you can be like that with your mates, can't you? It's that by the time you've actually got the professional hat on, you're in the game. Oh, like why did I know about that? Having missed the previous days, like antics on the hill. So I think, so I don't think I would take anything new onto a big peak just because I don't know how it works. So whatever, and if I can do a big day on Shelterstone or a big day on the Ben, I'm on the hill for like a big day anyway. So I have to deal with, all the daily chores you have to deal with anyway. So it's more about use kit that you are familiar with.
Yeah, and actually that sort of leads really nicely into our it was a previous conversation about lady admin on the mountain.
Excellent.
And I loved your response, which was like, it does happen every month. It's not a surprise until you hit your menopause, when you do get surprises. But I think there's loads of options out there, isn't there? And if when I've been on the big trip I went on and this was back in '96, I was on the pill, so I just thought, right, I'll just take the pill continually, so there's no issue. I don't have to worry about bleeding, I don't have to worry about anything like that. And that worked really well for me. And actually nowadays there's more options depending.
And absolutely. And I think, like, the way I look at it is, it's not a bronze Duke of Edinburgh expedition where you've got people who are just starting out in that phase of life and then having to deal with like overnights away, etc., and like there's limited facilities. So I think so by the time you're on these big hills, you've probably had quite a few years to figure things out. And I think the one thing I would say is expect the unexpected. Because the body does funny stuff at altitude. So I think, and that's not just from a female point of view. Like it does weird things to blokes. And actually, when you're sharing a tent with like either Sherpas or team members who are male, there is no privacy. So I think everyone expects the unexpected. And as long as you've got that in the back of your mind, you're under control. But the one thing I would say from a female point of view on expeditions is panty liners. Because actually it's like a clean pair of knickers every day. And like, I'd say I'm a pretty avid anti-wet wipe person. Because actually you can't get rid of them. And so if I need to have a wash, I'll go to a stream and I'll see my cook for a bowl and I'll wash. But I don't like wet wipes, and they all freeze anyway. So they are the biggest scam at all for big mountains. But panty liners that's it. Like, if I can get away with that, that's definitely the thing I'd go for.
Do you just on a like sort of a refuse, not necessarily linked to that, but generally does everything you carry and get carried out as well? And you
would like to think yes. However, that's not really what happens. But like, I would say it has come on a long way, but you would know where previous camps are. And especially like if I'm speaking about K2, because that's it's a lot more technical than say Everest, and actually you don't need to find where the camps are because they're all still there from the previous years, etc. And it's just because actually you can't get things down. And actually when you are physically trying to survive, if you leave a gas canister or an empty wrapper,
you're not going back for it.
And people, and I think that's why it's really hard. It's very hard to sit here and say, oh yes, everything we take on the hill we take off. We do our best, and that's all we can. And that's all we can do. And stuff like I've like for years now, like always like at base camps, I put on a pair of rubber gloves from the first aid kit, and I do litter picks. And I'll always do little pick round my little base camp, and I'll then extend the boundary. And it's amazing when people see you picking up scabby bits of toilet roll or fag butts or not nice things. People actually don't throw them away, or actually they then start doing litter.
Yeah, they'll sort it out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we always try and we do our best. And certainly things like oxygen cylinders, etc., because they've got quite a big monetary value, they'll pretty much they'll do their best to get them down.
They'll get recovered, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and that, like you say, we're at the limits of human existence, survival, and so on, aren't we? So if anything goes a little bit pear-shaped, you're getting yourself out, and you're not gonna worry about anything else, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you put something down as well, like especially when the wind picks up, it's off anyway. So
yeah.
You know, and then because you're carrying so little up with you, you know, and everything's got a purpose, you want to try and get everything off with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so I'd like to think that I think we've come a long way.
Yeah.
Not as bad as we used to be. But there's probably still room for improvement.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have a ton more questions, and we could continue talking for probably at least another 2 hours. But no, we are out of time. But I would like to say a massive thank you for taking the time to talk with us, Di. It's been fascinating, really has, and also a big thank you to your sponsor Scarpa, who have made this possible for us. And so there'll be links on our show notes to Di's page on the Scarpa website, and you've got a couple of articles, I think, up on there as well. Folks can read. We are a big supplier of Scarpa shoes at our shops, and we literally have everything. If you're climbing rock, if you're walking in, if you're on a trail run, right through to, we keep in stock the entire size range of Phantom 6000s, Phantom 8000s, so you can come in and you can try on your boots with complete confidence that you're going to go out with the right pair to protect your toes in your amazing mountain adventures. We do encourage people to come in, but you can have a look online at our to make sure your size is available and in which shop it is at. And you can do that at www.climbers-shop.com. And then we also have a wealth of information available on our sister website, which is the Joe Brown Outdoor Academy. And you can find that at www.joebrownoutdooracademy.com.